Harrison, man, bringing you a brand new episode of the Melanated Convo podcast. I'd like to welcome everybody to a brand new show. We're going to have fun today. And if this is your first time tuning into the show, I say this a lot, but I want to make sure everybody is clear about what I do here. If your first time listening to the show, we do a few things here at the Melanated Convo podcast. We talk about news stories. It's an extremely important that everybody in our community has a grasp on what goes on in the community, whether you agree with it, whether you like it. We be on TMZ. We watch sports. We like entertainment. We always buy and choose. There's a lot of things we do that aren't conducive to us moving forward as a community. So I like to shine a light on the different things going on in the community. Sometimes I just use it as a point of reference to make a larger point. But the point is, we need to be locked in on all the shit going on in the community. Another thing that I do here on the show is the Black Business Spotlight. If we are to look at the health of Black people in America, melanated people in America, it's extremely important that we understand how important Black businesses are. Everybody talking about Biden, everybody talking about Trump. That's a section of society you can use to help yourself, yes. But it's a lot of shit we can do on our own with just us that can benefit us. And most of the Black people I know, not most, I'm not going to say that. A lot of Black people I know don't see it fit to search out a Black business. You need a plumber, you need shoes, you need glasses, you need something work on your car. Before you just go give somebody else your money, it's extremely important that we look inside of the community of who can actually help you. So we talk a lot about Black businesses, and also on the show, every show, at the end of the show, we'll have a particular topic. Most of you know my platform, Melanated Fathers of America, is based around fatherhood. It's based around history. It's based around getting our society right from a man's perspective, from a father's perspective. So a lot of my topics are based on raising your kids, based on a lot of incidents I've been through myself. I take my mistakes and use it as a vehicle to educate the family. And I'm proud to say that because I don't come on here and preach shit that I don't do, or come on here and make it seem like I'm just this great father who's been great at it for the 20-something years I've been a father. I've made a lot of mistakes, but I'm smart enough to recognize those mistakes, reconcile as much as I can, and use that information as a tool to teach the family. So I'm proud of that, you know what I mean? So let's get everything started, man. Another thing I want to say real quick, typically I do this show on my own or I interview people, right? But today I got a special guest with me who she's not being interviewed, y'all. She is my guest host. My guest host, Cherene Briggs, who is the father of action. She'll tell you what that means in a second. She is a journalist. She's a social worker. She's a writer. You know what I mean? She worked real closely with the SAC Report, which is a publication here in Sacramento that's been going on for a while that has influence in our community. So everybody say what's up to the sister Cherene Briggs. How you doing, Cherene?
What's up, everybody? What's up? How you doing? Harrison, thanks for having me. Thanks for having me. I've been
Definitely,
watching you
definitely.
for I've been watching you and following you for some time now, and it's an honor to be on your show.
Thank
So
you.
you're very welcome. So again, my name is Cherene Briggs. To other people out there, I am the founder of my organization, Action. Action basically stands for advocating change, inspiring others nationwide.
That's
While there's
beautiful.
so much injustice going on in the world today, that's a part of what action stands for. However, I always place special emphasis on young women and their
Mm,
overall mental and well being. So
got it.
basically, action focuses a lot on mental health, and I am an advocate for mental health. I focus a lot on young women, but I can't forget my young men as well. So basically, that's what action is about: bringing awareness to mental illness, and of course, fighting the injustices that we as Black people face.
Definitely,
Um,
definitely.
the,
All
the,
right. So I'm excited.
yes, the
I'm
Sacramento,
excited
the
to have
Sac
Cherene on the
Report.
show.
Yes,
Huh?
the Sac Report magazine. I've been an editor for the Sac Report magazine for 7 years. We have people that are in the community that are on the front lines, all the way to models, all the way to business owners. So that's something that if you definitely want to reach out and be a part of the Sac Report magazine, it's Black owned, Black business, you can reach out to me, Cherene Briggs. You can find me on Facebook.
There we go. There we go. All
Yeah.
right, family. So let's get everything started. Also, if you're watching the video on Facebook, please hit the like button. Please share the video. If you're watching the video on my Facebook, on my YouTube page, which is Melanated Fathers TV, please share the video, like it, like it. The algorithm and all of those technical things are definitely important. We want to get the viewership up as high as we can, just so we can have the maximum amount of impact on our community. So let's go,
Yes.
Cherene. Let's go to the first story, man. Let's get this thing
Indeed.
popping.
Let's go.
Yeah. All right. First story out of my hometown, something that happened in, how social media is, right? We talk about everything, like the little niche Black community on social media. For the most part, when things happen to us, whether people are genuine or not, people share things and you see a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, this is a story that we didn't see much about. You know what I mean? I didn't see it to maybe a couple days after it happened. So basically, what took place, a brother by the name of Willie Brown Jr., right, was found hanging from a basketball rim located on the courts of Countryside Park in South Sacramento, where I'm from. A unnamed witness said they discovered him around 8:30 a.m. on August 19th. Now, a little bit about Willie Brown Jr. He's a father of four. The brother actually spent like 8 days on a breathing machine, and on Monday, surrounded by his family and friends, and a procession of medical professionals paying their respects, he was taken off of life support, right? And something else
Right.
that I wanted to mention that my sister Cherene brought to my attention. So this is the situation with the brother. His family is looking at this a little awkward. They're not sure if it's actually a hanging based on how quick the police closed the case, based
Right.
on the fact that all they found there was a knife in his phone. Like, I would think if you string yourself up, there's going to be more material around you that shows that you strung yourself up. You know what I mean? And,
Exactly.
just in this country, because we're going to talk a minute about other brothers that was found in this same situation. But one thing
Exactly.
that's important that I want everybody to know, it's difficult if you're a Black person in this country and you understand our history and you're compassionate about our issues. It's difficult to see things happen a particular way and it not trigger you. You see a
Right.
Black person get hung in America, he did it, it was an accident, however it happened. Most of us, our first inclination is going to be, okay, who hung the brother? What
Right.
actually happened to him, right?
Right.
What do
Right.
you what do you feel about that, Cherene?
Yeah, going back to Willie Brown Jr. again, you talked about him being hung from an actual basketball court, which is a little bit different from the other brothers that we're going to talk about. They were
Mm-hmm.
found hanging on trees.
Mm.
Okay, so very the likeliness of basically the parallel from them being hung on trees takes you immediately to the history of Black women, Black men and women being
Mm-hmm.
hung on trees. So that there's a symbolic, part of the fact
Mm-hmm.
that a Black man is hanging himself on trees. We'll get back to that. Now, this
Mm-hmm.
man was actually found hung on a basketball court and on a where you shoot the hoop.
Mm-hmm.
Like you mentioned,
Now,
Harrison, there was a knife found there, and I believe his wallet.
mm-hmm.
When the police did come, it says that basically Station 51 arrived on the scene in Sacramento immediately once someone did alert them of this horrific scene, and when they did come, they immediately put the knife and the wallet
The
in the
phone.
vehicle. Now
Mm.
what is left out in that story is I'm not too sure if they had gloves on.
Mm.
I'm not too sure if they preserved the you know what word I'm talking about here.
The crime scene, yeah.
Exactly. Did you preserve the actual knife?
Mm-hmm.
How did you grab it? That part, as you know, because you've researched it as well, they haven't talked about that. So if you
Mm-hmm.
did not do that, you already messed up the crime scene.
Mm-hmm.
It's already not going to be a factual crime scene because you contaminated that.
You tainted the evidence.
You
Definitely,
tainted the
definitely.
evidence. And when people spoke to his family, this man is only 38 years young. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
he's only 38 years young. His family said that he was energetic, that he worked hard, and that he was fun. They said they had no indication of him having any type of mental illness, any type of depression. So that's what makes it a little bit fishy. So
Definitely.
these are things we have to look at, and you were going to get further into that, like you said. I can name 5 men within since June that have been
Mm.
hung by trees. One
Mm.
Latino, one
Mm.
Latino. So we're going to get back to that. But they were hung on trees. This what makes this one so different to me is how he hung himself at a basketball court. So our question becomes: we know the who the person is, right? We don't know the why, and we don't know who did it, and that becomes a problem for me because how can you automatically rule it suicide when there's no proof?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And something else I want to touch on that you hit me to the other day, as far as the likeliness of a black man to hang himself in America. A study conducted by the National Center of Biotechnology Information over a
Exactly.
10-year span, there was a 52% increase in suicide by hanging. Even with that increase, this is important to note, even with that increase, the statistics show that hangings make up 3.1% of reported suicides overall. Yet placing a sharper focus on the statistics, studies show that black men are 60% less likely to kill themselves than non-black men. And hanging is not a preferred method. Now, am I saying
Exactly.
that to say the brother couldn't hang himself? Not
Right.
at all. It's just not fucking likely. You know what I
It's
mean?
not. It's not.
It's just not a likely method that we actually use to harm ourselves. Now, the investigation was closed. It looks like since then, because of the the family not being okay with what's going on, it seems like the case has been reopened. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? So
Mm-hmm.
I'm definitely hoping that they reopen the case. I'm hoping that they look deeper into it because they kind of threw it off to the side real quick like that. And unfortunately, again, excuse me, being a black man in America, every time there's the scent of injustice, because sometimes we don't see it directly.
Right.
Even when there's the scent of injustice, I'm always going to be on alert because I don't trust this country. I hope,
Exactly.
Cherene, I get to a point where I can watch the news, where I can see a news report about our people and take that shit at face value. But unfortunately, in America, you will be a fool to approach any of these instances in that manner. Now, something else you brought up, because again, the brother, this situation looks awkward. Like there could have been some foul play or somebody could have
Exactly.
helped him or something. However, me and Cherene was talking, and there's a brother out of the Bay Area. I want you to talk about that, Cherene. The brother Malcolm Harsh.
Okay. Malcolm Harsh, wasn't he in Southern Cal?
Yes.
Okay. So Malcolm Harsh was another 38-year-old man.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. His circumstances are a little bit different. Basically he was living in a homeless shelter.
Mm-hmm.
He came out here because his basically the mother of his children was out here. He had goals and dreams to say, you know what, I want to be a better dad. Just like how you talked
Mm-hmm.
about, I wasn't the best dad all the time. So he came out and he had this dream and goal that I'm going to do good. I'm going to be a good dad. I'm going to be with my children. However, he ended up homeless. So basically, he was found, and I'll get the exact date on that in a second. He was found. His name, did we say his name yet?
Yes.
Malcolm
Malcolm Harsh.
Harsh.
He was found on May
May
31st.
31st. Yes, 50 miles from Victorville.
Mm-hmm.
And basically, what happened in this case, which is very, very rare, and I applaud the family. I applaud them because they did not just allow someone to immediately classify his death as a suicide. They did not. They said, "Oh no, we need to see what's going on. This doesn't make any sense. Why would Malcolm hang himself on for everybody to see on a tree?" So then the police did open that up. They reviewed the case and actually allowed the family to review the video.
Mm.
Now, when you have a black family that reviewed a video and they come to the conclusion that yes, indeed, it was a suicide, we have to trust our people with that, right? Because
Yeah.
there's so many people videotaping everything else, right? And we're looking at it and we see, no, that's not right. Even talking about George Floyd, that doesn't make any sense. So if something's truth, we tell the truth. We don't just lie about, oh, George Floyd got murdered. He didn't do nothing. He really didn't do anything to deserve to
Mm-hmm.
get killed right there in front of all those people. So
Mm-hmm.
they reviewed the tape, they saw it with their own eyes, and the whole family has come to the conclusion that he indeed did kill himself. Now
Mm.
that's still the odds of that happening these 5 times since June are not likely. It just
Mm.
doesn't make any sense. You have to think
Mm-hmm.
about the history of our Black people.
Mm-hmm.
You have to think about the whole idea that lynching was done in a way to humiliate us, right? In a way to
Mm-hmm.
make us feel like we are nothing, that we are worthless. So you have to think about that and ask yourself, why would this be the way that these Black men are choosing to kill themselves?
Exactly.
Why would that
Exactly.
be the situation? But in this case, with Mr. Harsh, he indeed, based on the family and the videotape, he did indeed commit suicide. I would have to get more details. They didn't say that they saw him walk up and do all the stuff. Basically,
Mm-hmm.
just when they sat there and they analyzed it and they did their research and they checked and all that good stuff. Basically, it leads up to the truth, and the truth is that he did commit suicide. So we have to keep in mind that that does happen,
Mm-hmm.
but how many
Mm-hmm.
times is it really happening?
Yeah. See, and I like the fact that you brought up that point because I come on here a lot and I talk about what's being done to us. Like
Right,
I'm always gonna be a big advocate for my people. I'm gonna speak for people who don't want to speak or can't speak. But at
right,
times, um, but at times we need to realize that sometimes we do stuff to ourselves. Sometimes we do have to call our people to the table. Sometimes we need
right,
to look at a situation and say, well, nah, it didn't quite happen like that.
right,
Because even with the Malcolm Harsh situation, I'm sure after people seen what his parents said in the video that came out, but before that, all of us were up in arms like, wait a minute, this not making no sense. We coupled that in with the other situations that we've seen. So it's important that at times we take these individual situations and make our assessment based on what we've seen. And if we get information that proves us wrong, this is something I'm learning big, Cherene, as I get in this space where I speak to people and I speak in like a matter of fact way, right?
mm-hmm,
If I get new information that proves that I'm wrong, like I told y'all some bullshit last week, I'm gonna come on here and be like, hey, last week I gotta retract that.
let me correct
None of
myself.
us, none of us can be because I'm not on here to get clicks and views. Meaning I'm not gonna say no outlandish shit just so people can like the video, just so they can
Exactly.
come on. I don't want to be salacious at all. I want to be honest and speak my truth. And if I stumble across information that's incorrect or I read into something that's incorrect, we need to correct that. So I mean, I pray for Willie Browns Jr. and his family. I seen a video of how they, um, when they took the brother off of the breathing machines, they kind of
Wow.
walked him into this room.
Yes.
This
Yes.
this is horrible, man. This is horrible. The brother got 4 kids. So at the end of the day, if he did
Kids.
it to himself, if he didn't do it to, however it happened, it's a horrible situation, and his kids and his family have to deal with this for a long time, right? So shout out to his family, man, and I hope they can find a way to get through this. You feel me?
Yeah, indeed, indeed. And I hope they get the resources, and I hope that they get the necessary help that they need.
Mm-hmm.
When people die a regular death, the grieving process is already so robust, right? Everybody handles it differently, but it takes you down pretty much for the rest of your life. You never forget it, right?
Yes.
So
Yes.
when someone gets murdered, same type of thing. But when someone kills themselves, can you imagine the pain that they actually feel like, what did I do wrong? Now,
Mm-hmm.
in regard to the black men hanging themselves and just black people hanging themselves, and how we react as black people, it has a lot to do with what's going on right now. It has a lot to do with the systemic racism that we live
Mm-hmm.
with day to day, the institutionalized oppression that we live with day to day, COVID, police brutality.
Mm-hmm.
So when things like this happen, we're already at a heightened level of mental health that isn't at the best, because we are
Mm-hmm.
constantly getting beat down. This is day to day, every day for years.
Yep.
So
Yep.
a lot of their mourning is going to be something, is going to be more hard because of what they already deal with day to day. They have to
Mm-hmm.
ask themselves, did this play a part in him killing himself? Was he really depressed? And I'll go into more about that. But I told you about the rise in mental health issues amongst Black
Hmm.
people since George Floyd
COVID.
and since
Yeah, and
COVID.
COVID.
There's
Hmm.
a between about, depending on the study, 41 to 51% raise in mental health issues amongst Black people, and we can
Hmm.
get more into that when you're ready. But the fact of it is now they're going to suffer. What's
Hmm.
next? What's next?
Definitely, definitely. Now, we'll move on to the next story, but I jumped the gun a little bit. I was so
Yeah.
excited to talk to my sister about these
Yes.
stories. I forgot my businesses, man. We got to give a shout out to the Black businesses. Without the businesses, we ain't nothing. Now, so for the Black businesses, these businesses are kind of in conjunction, right? Because death is an uncomfortable topic for all humans, like not just
Right.
Black people. Most people are uncomfortable speaking about death. However, for what I've learned from watching my family in the funeral home business, it's extremely important that you have your affairs in order when that unfortunate time may come, right? So a couple
Indeed.
businesses today. The first business is Thompson Rose Chapel Funeral Home. Now, Thompson Rose Chapel Funeral Home is a funeral home located in the Sacramento, California area. This is a landmark in the community. This funeral home has been in Sacramento since 1948. At the current location since 1957. It's really important because the owner, the founder, Ted Thompson, he was. I do a lot of stories about history and people from history. This is a brother that I can actually do a story about because he
Right.
was the first Black mortician in Sacramento. He
Mm-hmm.
went to school to be a funeral director and realized, hey, I'm in this particular area, and funeral homes aren't burying Black folks. They got to
Right.
go to the outskirts. They got to go through all these hoops to actually get themselves buried. So
Wow.
he started Thompson Rose Chapel Funeral Home, which has been a pillar in the community since the 50s, 40s, late 40s, 50s, when the Black Panthers were a heavy presence in Sacramento. He used to allow them to be on the roof to kind of
Wow.
hold court on the roof. So the brother was aware of our struggles, and I salute him for that. So at Thompson Rose Chapel, there's a couple different programs that everybody should be aware of. If you or anyone in your family has done business with Thompson's in the past, keep in mind that they have what's called a heritage program. Now, the heritage program basically says, no, understanding how expensive some of these things can be. The heritage program basically says, if you had a family member that came here, if we can locate those records, you'll get a percentage off of your service. So
Okay.
we can create, and the goal of it is to create a family environment that understands the needs of the community that we serve. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
and at the funeral home, we've had things for Black History Month. We've had things for Thanksgiving. So yes, it is a place where people come to mourn and say their final respects for their family members. But it's
Right.
also being used as somewhat of a community center and a place
Right.
where we can come to rejoice and talk about issues going on in our community. So mainly because that's how he used the facility,
Yeah.
right? So also, besides the heritage program, if you are a brother and sister who was in the military, we have a veterans program where you get 10% off of all your off of professional services, 10% off professional services if you're ex-military person. So there's funerals, cremation, counseling, pre-planning. If you don't have life insurance, but you would like to start paying for your funeral, we offer plans where you can begin paying for your funeral early. If you have a family member who died in a different state, they can be shipped to Sacramento. Like that process isn't as difficult as people think it is. You know what I mean? So you can go to thompsonrosechapel.com if you have a family member who is on hospice or a family member that's old and you just want to plan. Go to thompsonrosechapel.com. Not only can you get a lot of information there, but there is resources on there like for grieving. Check it out. If you somebody who lost a family member some months ago, you can go to the website and get grieving information. You can get
Right.
access to grievance counselors in different websites and institutions that kind of help people who are grieving. You know what I mean?
I
So
like that.
definitely, right? So a lot of different resources on the website. Go to thompsonrosechapel.com. If you're in the Sacramento area, you can call 916-455-3038. That's Thompson Rose Chapel Funeral Home. I know it's a difficult conversation, family, but I'm tired of y'all doing them car washes. Come on now. Damn, car
Exactly. Plan
wash.
ahead. My
Come
first
on now.
introduction, it's on 35th Street, correct? What?
5th Street, 5th, 5th.
5th Street.
Yep.
Okay. Basically, my first experience with Thompson Funeral Home was when I
Mm.
was 10 years old.
Really?
Yeah. My dad,
Oh.
so I was born in 73, so that means I in around 83-ish, my dad was buried there. And then
Oh,
not too long,
wow.
and then he was only 39. And so I'll never forget that place. And then not too long ago, not too long ago after he passed, his mother passed, and she was buried there. So it's like almost like family traditions. People hold
Mm-hmm.
that place in high regards because we were treated, a very, very well. I remember as a kid, the little limo pulling up right there where
Mm.
you were serving the food
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
stuff to the homeless not too long ago when COVID was
Mm-hmm.
going, when it was still real,
Yeah.
heavy, which it still is. People are
Yes.
downplaying it, but it still is. But when you were serving that food and taking risking your life and all that, that's where I remember that horse. You know what I'm talking
Mm.
about?
Yeah.
The thing with the body in
Yeah. The hearth.
it, driving us there, and then also like the limo or something. They let us off right there in that area.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a
Yep.
very.
Yeah, and a lot of people in the community
You're talking about the one on Brad by Broadway or the one across from the park?
across from the park
Exactly,
is,
Thompson.
yes, right by the park.
Everybody knows
Yep.
that place.
Yep. And it's a lot of the business that comes is based on people being comfortable, based on their family being there, and with the people who work there, because I don't have that's not my field of expertise or anything, but my family. So I help out as much as I can. But what they showed me is, unlike a lot of different industries, you have one opportunity to get that thing right. If you mess up something during a funeral, if there's a misstep, they're going to associate you with one of the worst days of their life, and you mess something up. You didn't bring something the right way. You see what I'm saying? So the staff at Thompson Rose Chapel does a really good job of seizing the moment. They understand how important the moments are. So for everybody out there, if you got a family member in that
Indeed.
type of situation, please go to thompsonrosechapel.com. You can call them at 455-3038, area code 916. You know what I mean? Now, next business kind of ties into the funeral home. I know a brother by the name of Janssen Brooks. Janssen Brooks is a brother who sells life insurance in different facets of life insurance. He actually helped me get my life insurance. That's one of the biggest reasons why I'm an advocate of his. So, like we were just saying, everybody out there, the amount of money that we spend on frivolous things throughout our life within any given month, you will be surprised how much you can get. $250,000, $500,000 life insurance for the amount of money that you probably spend on coffee in a month. And keep it in mind when we talk about life insurance, guys. And just for the record, he covers final expenses, living benefits, mortgage grade. He can help you if somebody dies. He can kind of help you figure out how to take that mortgage and put it into life insurance and different things like that. College planning. So he does a lot with just financial planning to a degree, and it's important because the brother was able to help me out. And a lot of people don't understand that. Of course, I would say if you have children, you want to get enough life insurance to take care of them to a degree, like so they can
Right.
kind of, whether it's helping them with finances, of course, paying for your funeral, but helping them with their finances or helping them
Yeah.
buy a house or something. I would recommend, if you can, get a life insurance policy that's well off enough so your death will spark wealth building for your family. You know what I mean? But keep in mind,
Exactly.
right? If you just wanted to do 10,000, 15,000, enough to cover the actual funeral, now we're talking $15 a month, y'all. Now we're talking $18 a month. So I know we don't like thinking about death, and certain people in our community think if I begin thinking about death, I'm gonna die. No, get rid of all that shit in your mind. Figure out a way to. This will help your family. You got little kids, you got people who depend on you. This will definitely help you out. So to get more information about life insurance, what I tell everybody, even if you're not ready to get life insurance now, I say call them, get an idea of how much it would cost you. Get an
Right.
idea of how much insurance you want, call him. He has a form on his website, which is jansenbrooks.com. Janssen Brooks is JANSSEN Brooks, BROOKS.com. If you go to the website, you'll be able to fill out a form and it'll walk you through what type of life insurance you're interested in, and
Yeah.
you can get everything started. So my people, it's extremely important that we understand when we talk about a revolution, when we talk about building wealth in our community,
Yeah.
this is a small piece to actually doing that. Of course, you want to have like real estate and stocks and bond, whatever you feel can help you get to that next level. but life insurance should be a no-brainer for all of us. So everybody go to
All of us.
JanssenBrooks.com, get that thing started. Let my man help you out. And these are two Black businesses. Keep that in mind as well, right? All right.
Yes.
So
Yes.
this is this out the way, Cherene. Next story. All right. Next story is about a brother named Walter Wallace Jr. Now, on Monday, October 26th, Walter Wallace Jr., a 27-year-old Black man who suffered from bipolar disorder, was fatally shot by Philadelphia police officers as he was walking towards them. He was apparently experiencing a mental health crisis
Mm.
and was
Mm-hmm.
wielding a knife. Now, it's important to note that Wallace's family had called an ambulance, not police. They called an ambulance for assistance before the killing, but police arrived first. A cell phone video of the encounter, which has since gone viral, has raised new questions about the role of the police when engaging individuals with mental health issues. And I'm going to put it over to my sister here in a minute because she's big on mental health advocacy. So I'm going to get her take on this in a minute. And the question that most people are the question that's arising is, was everything done to de-escalate the situation? Now, it goes on to say that inadequate mental health intervention has been shown to lead the fatal law enforcement encounters. Adults with severe mental illness account for 1 in 4 people killed in police encounters, according to a 2015 report from the Treatment
Right.
Advocacy Center, a national nonprofit organization based in Arlington, Virginia. Individuals with untreated mental illness are 16 times more likely to be killed in an encounter with law enforcement other than civilians. Meanwhile, individuals with serious mental illness account for only 3 to 5% of violent acts, which basically saying something is wrong with them. They're not violent. They're not going to try to hurt you. And watching the video, the brother did have a knife. So
He did.
look, I understand that as a police officer, you got a family, you want to go home to your family. Somebody has something that can harm you. The question becomes, in my opinion, how do I react? Now, if they have a gun, you shoot them. We all can agree. If I'm a cop, I pull you over, you pull out a gun, that's fair. Now I have to shoot you to protect myself. Now, look, Cherene, if somebody pulls out a knife, what else can a cop do? Can't we go with like shooting them in the leg? Now, a detective or one of the sergeants mentioned that they didn't have tasers on them.
Right.
Somebody was saying, hey, you could have just tased them. They said,
Exactly.
Look, we didn't have tasers. So in your opinion, what other route can be taken? Because obviously, because I think both officers shot 7 times. That was unnecessary. So in your opinion, what could have been done to make it so this brother's still here today?
You know, that's a good question. That's a very, very good question. It's a very valid question. However, based on my years of living and based on history and the way that I know that police are trained, I have a friend that I used to play soccer with when I was like 9 years old, who's a police officer now, who told me that police are shot to kill. They shoot to kill. So when you say what else could happen, there is nothing else that's going to happen. The police officers are trained to shoot to kill. They're trained to shoot to kill. They're not trained to shoot in the leg anymore. Now, I don't know, like, even back in the day, like, was that the case? I would have to do my research. But for right now, they are trained to kill. Shoot to kill. You don't shoot to harm, right? Because if you shoot somebody in the leg, what's the chances that they might not get up? This is what their excuse would be. What's the chances that say they had a gun in their pocket that they didn't see? So what's the chances if you shoot him in the leg and he falls backwards, pulls out his gun, start blazing? So therefore, they don't give you that opportunity. You know, I meet people sometimes that say, Cherene, you know, if somebody, these are people that just can't really speak or communicate real good. If someone's in my face, Cherene, and they get like this close to me and they start threatening me, I punch them first. I don't even allow them to hit me. That's kind of the mentality that the police are having. You have a gun, you have a knife, you have a damn spoon. I'm not gonna allow you to hurt me. I'm gonna kill you. And so I really don't have an answer for you in regards to that, because I know that police officers are trained to kill. We could do some more research on this and follow up on another day.
Mm-hmm.
They're trained to shoot to kill.
Mm-hmm.
Your question, ask your question. Can you think of a case where they didn't do that?
No, I
Stephon
know.
Clark,
And
they
if
shot
the
at him
person
20 times.
and if the person doesn't die, it's kind of just by accident. Like they shot to kill him, but for whatever reason he lived through it or whatever. But another thing I want to say, the whole defunding the police movement, right? Now, of course, I don't think you should take money directly from police departments so now they don't have adequate equipment
Okay.
or the adequate setup to do their job. However, maybe some of the funds can be allocated to other things. Like we was talking about this a little bit earlier, but I think if it's a mental health issue, maybe a cop shouldn't show up.
Yeah.
Maybe like or maybe a cop along with a trained psychologist or something.
Yes, there's a study being done, and again, I don't have all the information, but it is a valid source that I got that from. And
Mm-hmm.
basically, what they did a pilot where they had
Hmm.
social workers when it was a mental illness call. Oh, this
Mm-hmm.
my son has paranoid schizophrenia. Can you please come get him? He's on top of the roof. It won't just be a police officer. It will be a social worker, someone like myself,
Mm.
right? Because
Mm-hmm.
if you don't know, basically social workers are just almost like therapists. Once you
Hmm.
get your master's and you become licensed, you are indeed a therapist. So
Hmm.
what they're thinking about is getting licensed clinical social workers, licensed therapists to ride along with these police officers when they get called on mental health situations.
You know what I mean? Yeah. Yeah. And I think we just need to begin exploring stuff like that because I'm tired of seeing um what happens to our people. Now I know the media sometimes plays a role in polarizing certain incidents, and I'm aware of that. But in general, because if this was a white person, I would feel the same way. I don't think nobody should be killed in that instance because with this guy, the family
Yeah.
mentioned that the police has been out to the house several times.
Right.
Um, they mentioned his record, and the brother was going through it. Like his record and the things that he was doing shows he was having problems with his mom. He put his hands on his mom. I mean, he wasn't in the right headspace.
He
So
wasn't.
again, he shouldn't he that shouldn't be a death sentence. So we
Right.
have to figure out a way to police. And then for black folks, when you see things like this is why even today I've had positive experiences with police officers. I'm not going to lie and act like every cop I've come across has been an asshole. However, when I see cops, whether behind me, whether they're close to me, I get kind of anxiety a little bit because
Yeah.
I don't know how he gonna act. I don't because he has the right to kill me and go home. That's the
Right.
long and short of it.
Right.
So
Right.
anybody with that kind of power, some of them choose to wield that power. And like I say in a lot of my shows, in 2014, the FBI reported that white supremacist groups have infiltrated the police departments around the country.
Oh
So
yeah.
it makes it difficult for me to look at police interactions and not think, damn, did he just want to kill him? Was he just out to do something to him? You know what I mean? So
You
it's a
don't
real
even have to
tough shit.
second guess yourself because you already know. It's just like Judge Judy. She says if it doesn't make sense, it's not the truth. It doesn't make sense for two officers, right, to
Mm-hmm.
shoot 7 times at a man with a knife. So therefore, the truth of the matter is they wanted to kill him. And we can no longer keep trying to make excuses and trying to find we spend so much time trying to find, okay, well, if he didn't have a gun, like I was reading some of the messages and the notes and people talking about this, and they're like, well, he had a gun, and so I'm sorry, he had a knife. And so
Mm-hmm.
at that point it's supposed to be like, well, he had a knife. Do you know how many white people have knives? I mean,
Yeah.
I'll save I'll save them when I see the videotapes. I'm gonna save them and send them to you. They don't
Mm-hmm.
get killed. Do you know how
I've
many?
seen the other day, I seen a young white guy who was rioting. He had on the mask. He had a hockey puck thing, like the big hockey puck thing. The
Yeah.
police's camera was on. The police was in the car with the window rolled up.
Mm-hmm.
He came up to the car and began beating the shit out the car, hitting it several times, hitting the window. What he had wasn't strong enough to break the glass, but the cop just looked at him. He didn't say nothing. He didn't get out. He didn't pull his gun. Another incident I seen like 2 months ago where, and I've seen this on video, but Cherene, I've actually seen this with my own eyes, where a white guy gets pulled over and he gets out of the car. He gets out of the car, heads towards the police cruiser. I couldn't hear what he was saying, but he was flailing his arms. Like, what are you doing? Why you pull me over? The cop approached him like this. Hey, calm down. I said, okay, wait a minute.
Hands
wait
up.
a minute. You approaching him. Up. He was like, wait a minute. Hey, what you doing, man? Hold on. I'm like, whoa. So to me, you're just treating him like a human. You just treating him like that's your brother, like that's your friend. You giving the situation enough empathy to see it clearly. You know what I mean?
Well, let's talk about, I believe it was after George Floyd or another killing. It's so many of them that I kind of actually lose track. Where the white boy came from a whole nother city where they were riding at, remember? With the Ep.47?
Kyle Rittenhouse. I think that was Kyle Rittenhouse.
He went and he actually killed some folk.
Mm-hmm.
Police came. Everybody's like, there he is. The police drove right by him. Hey, what's going on? What are you doing? Nothing. And he kept on walking. Do you think that would have been a black man with a gun like that he would have just been able to keep walking? So see, when I was young, I used to ask my mom a lot too. Why? The answer is pure hate. The answer is white supremacy. The answer is white supremacists. The answer is racism. The answer is we're not liked in this country. We were only here to build this country and to serve as like slaves in this country. They didn't want this to happen. Everything that's going on right now was not a part of the plan.
Damn right. All this.
Hence mass incarceration. Hence the war on drugs. All these things to try to keep us down because they saw us progressing.
Yep.
So it's not going to be another outcome, Harrison. It just won't. And I bet you money on that. When we have this next conversation and we're talking about another black male that was killed with a knife or something like that in his hand or nothing in his hand, we're going to talk about him getting his head blown off and wonder why they didn't do something different. We've been talking about this for so long.
See, and people act like this is new. I mean, Rodney King, that was on tape, right?
Right.
Rodney King was on tape.
They they killed.
And we watching this like that could be me. Like people are expecting me to disconnect from what I'm seeing. Some people hit me at times and be like, "Hey, man, we're talking about race, bro. It's not even that. It's not about black or white, bro." I'm like, man, I wish I lived in a country that wasn't about black and white. You know what I mean? You're not gonna tell me I'm not seeing what I'm seeing. You know what I mean?
They want you to overlook it because they're nice. They want you to like a lot of people say about the police, like you said. Well, I have some good encounters. You know what? Coming from a black woman, I haven't. And I had a whole, I guess what's those guns, the Glocks? I had a whole man run up on me with his Glock and tell me to get out the car. He told me to get out the car. He was in an undercover Astro van on 4th of July, maybe some 8 years ago. Even longer ago. He had his lights on, and you know we love our music. I'm playing music, I'm vibing out, not really celebrating July 4th, but I'm like, hey, hey. I don't hear this man with the one single light on an Astro van. So he followed me. I turned on Luther. That's right across the street from Luther Burbank on Florin Road.
Yep, I know where that is.
I finally seen him. I pulled over. This man ran out to his car. He was about 6 feet away from me with the Glock, the regular, the gun, that ones they have right here. And he, get out the car. I've never been the same since.
I bet.
It's just like I think that, you know, we want to have hope. And again, when I was young, my mother taught me to have hope. I want to have hope. But when I look at each situation, every day something new, I don't have that hope. So maybe you can help me to get my hope back one day. But the hope is really not there anymore. What I want to do now is just make sure that we get what we are supposed to have. I don't have hope of being treated fairly.
Yes.
That's not going to happen.
Yeah, and we were talking about that a little bit earlier. Whereas, Black folks, we're pointing out racism, we're pointing out white supremacy. But if you look at the history of the country, I don't think it's not being hopeful, Cherene. I think it's almost practical to say, okay,
There you
nothing
go.
has changed in this
Right.
whole period of time. So I'm going to go ahead and assume for the
Right.
rest of my life, we over 40, for the rest of my 20, 30, 40 years here, things may not change either. So with that in place, what can we do
What can we do?
amongst ourselves to circumvent some of these issues and put our kids and the younger people in a position where they can fight some of this, where they can be in politics, or maybe our kids can be cops. Figure
Right.
out different ways
Exactly.
because we
Because
in this system. So
the
we have to
pain.
figure out a way to participate that's going to help us.
Indeed. And the pain that we are feeling because of all this that's going on is bringing you back to people killing themselves. And it's
Mm-hmm.
not far fetched. It's not. That's the sad part about it, because in my mind I'm like, he probably did kill himself.
Mm-hmm.
But then on the other side is like, there's no way this man climbed up a tree and did all of that. Or was he trying to make a statement? Like, it's so many questions. But the
It is
underlying issue is the white supremacy. That's the underlying
always.
issue. So no matter what the hell I ask, even if he did do it, he was suffering from mental illness that went undiagnosed.
Mm-hmm.
If he didn't do it, then it's modern day lynching going on, warning us.
Definitely,
You
definitely. So
understand what I'm
that's
saying?
definitely, definitely. So again, that's another situation where I hope that family gets some sort of justice. Now we understand how this works, where a Benjamin Crump type may step in and sue the police department in Philadelphia, and the family get a little bit of change. I don't know. Now, of course, money can help you with expenses. It can help you feel better about the situation, but ultimately, I don't give us money, but we need more than just
Right,
some cash in some of these instances. You know what I mean?
right,
But if you're not going to get a cop arrested or something, then a payment may be all that you can get out of the situation.
right.
It's just unfortunate that we still dealing with these situations. So rest in peace to the brother Walter Wallace Jr., man. I hope in the future we can get to a place, even in our community, where we're recognizing mental illness and
Yes,
taking it
yes.
more serious,
Rest
seeing
in
it in a
peace.
kid and bringing him to talk to somebody, making sure we're not feeling ashamed about it, making sure
Exactly.
we get rid of some of our terminology, like you hit me to a little earlier, like just saying, "Oh, I got a cousin who crazy."
Right.
That's pretty dismissive in not breaking down the actual problems that he's dealing with. You know what I mean?
Yeah, crazy. Let me tell you, crazy. The Center of Disease Control noted that 15% of Black people who were surveyed in late June had seriously considered suicide
Hmm.
within the past 30 days,
Hmm.
compared to only 8% of their white counterparts.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So when we talk about, oh, he's crazy, the Center of Disease Control is telling you right now that 15% of Black people who were surveyed in late June of 2020,
Hmm.
so basically within around the time that George Floyd was killed, within 30 days from like May to June, had considered suicide.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So when you consider suicide, the mental illness is very deep. When you
Definitely.
consider taking your whole entire life, it's worse than, okay, I'm depressed. I've been depressed for a year. I've been depressed for 2 months. When you feel like there's no way out, that's the most severe type of mental illness there is.
Definitely. Definitely. So
So if the young man could have gotten some help, if the young man would have some resources, what would be the difference? How would we know? Because those resources are not available to us. They're not available to us in poor urban neighborhoods where that man is from. I'm sure he wasn't from a rich area in Philadelphia.
and his family mentioned how the police had been out there several times, how they have had several different bouts with him going through this. If there was some sort of center available where they could have brought him to get him help, most of us would do that. If we were
Exactly.
aware of something in our community where, hey, here's a facility that's going to help him, that's going to walk him through it, we would actually use these resources. We just don't have it a lot in our community. So rest in peace to that brother. Hopefully his
Indeed.
family gets some type of justice. But I'm getting sick and tired of seeing our people go through this shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
All
And
right. Now go ahead.
indeed.
All right, now last news story before we get to the topic. This one's a little weird, but I wanted to bring home. This is the type of story that I talk about just to bring home a further point about how we need to think as Black folks, about how we need to be on top of our game to a point where, because when we talk about racism, like supremacy, all these different things, the amount of unity that we have in our community, the amount of carelessness that we use when dealing with each other, it's like at an all-time low. So we got some work to do in the community, specifically with just love, man. With just looking at somebody else Black and saying, I got love for you. I don't care where you're from. I don't care what you've been through. I'm not going to look at you through the same eyes that the white folks look at you. I'm going to look at you understanding that you got trauma, understanding that you didn't have a daddy, like I didn't have a daddy. Like we both got
Right.
shit we going through. I'm not going to come down on you. You know what I mean? All right. So, last story. A man has been charged in connection with a fatal shooting of a father by his 3-year-old daughter in a car in Memphis, Tennessee. So follow me, y'all. This story, it's a little weird, but it actually happened. So court
Mm.
documents said that Alante Jones, who's 26, has been charged with reckless homicide and unlawful possession of a weapon in the man's death on Wednesday night. Now, they don't say the name of the man who died, but basically, this particular man was driving a car. His passenger seat was his girlfriend. Behind him, right behind his seat, was his 3-year-old daughter. He picked up Alante Jones. I think it was a friend of his. He was just giving him a ride somewhere, right? Follow me. He
Wow.
he picks him up to give him a ride somewhere. Alante gets in the back seat. Now I'm not sure why or who in their right damn mind would do this, but he get in the back seat. He has a gun on him. He puts the gun on the seat right next to the little girl.
Right.
And I guess within a split second, I'm thinking maybe this brother put the gun down and got on the phone. Maybe he put the gun down and looked out the. I don't know what the hell he was thinking. But the 3-year-old little girl picked up the gun. And you know what she did? She shot that thing and she shot her father in the back
In
of
the
his head, killing him instantly. Right. So look
wow.
at this situation. So this brother is going to jail, probably going to jail for a long time. The baby, she's not going to get no harm done to her. But think about the trauma. We talk about mental health and trauma. Think about what she's dealing with. She don't know nothing about no gun. And I'm not even sure because I want to say, being a gun owner myself, you want to give your kids gun safety, right?
Yeah.
I'm not sure if you give them that at 3, though.
No.
So she ain't in a position to even learn how to use it. He was being severely irresponsible. But we got to look at all the moving parts. Like, um, I look at sometimes the killings that go on in my community. I did a report a couple weeks ago about 12 people being killed in one weekend. Like it was some horrible shit. A drive-by shooting, a 9-year-old girl is killed. But the
Yeah.
point is, our
Hmm.
level of comfort with firearms, there's something to that. The fact that, because the way I see it, being a law-abiding citizen at this point in my life, I don't know if any of us should be just riding around with a strap on us, on your person, right?
Right.
If your
Right.
lifestyle, if you're living the type of lifestyle where you need to carry a gun everywhere you go, you need to start reconsidering what
Right.
you actually doing with your life. You know what I mean?
Right. Right.
Because unfortunately, that brother is gone. Homeboy gonna be in jail forever, and the little girl got to deal with the trauma of actually killing her father. But like I go back to love, if this man would have gotten to the car, boom, I'm getting into the car with individuals that I love, that I
Right.
care about. These is my
Right.
people. I'm not putting that gun on the seat. You ain't even gonna know I have a gun on me. I'm trying to protect y'all in the car. If I put this gun down, if I fall the wrong way, if something happened, I'm gonna affect the lives in this car, right? So when do we get to the point where we just don't give a shit about each other, man? And we talking about Trump and Biden again. That's a small piece of um, what we need to do in this country. That's a small piece of getting some type of reform or changes to be made. That's a small piece. The bigger pieces is right in our community. The bigger pieces is how you look at yourself. I know so many people who I'm realizing now, they don't love me simply because they don't love themselves. They haven't got to the point yet where they know how to love them. If you don't love you, like I always say, it's gonna be a difficult fucking time for you figuring out how to love me. How you feel about that
Exactly.
story, Sheree?
Well, about that story in particular, when you talk about having the right to bear arms, we're one of the
Mm-hmm.
states that we don't have that right, but states like Texas and
Mm-hmm.
Florida do.
Mm-hmm.
So I do now. I believe that we should be able to have bare arms.
Mm-hmm.
It should be in the glove compartment.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So as far as when that young person came, when that man came in there, he had to be young. I don't know if you got the age, but
26.
that's still that's a young man.
Yes.
That's a young man. I knew he had to be younger because
Mm-hmm.
he doesn't really have any sense.
Mm-hmm.
And then the thing of it is, what were you doing to when you didn't see the girl pick up the gun, do like this? She had to have been playing with it. So
Mm-hmm.
what were you doing? Looking out the window, rolling up a blunt? What was you doing? Rolling up a blunt? And
Mm-hmm.
I'm not trying to be funny. I want to know what you were doing, or were you on Instagram?
You know what I mean? Think about it. Yeah.
What were you doing? Because even if you made that mistake, why didn't you at least keep your hand on it? Like right here, why didn't you pay attention? But at the end of the day, I'm really confused on that story. I feel like I would go into a type of way far fetched thought. Like, did you do it on purpose? Because it makes no sense for you to
It makes
set
no
that
sense.
gun down and not watch it. Now, when you talk about everything should be done with love, indeed, and that's always been my goal and my dream. Everything we do should be out of love. When we speak to people, should be with love. And when I say that, that's respect.
Mm-hmm.
That's unconditional love. That's
Mm-hmm.
acknowledging their concerns when they speak. My mom taught me a long time ago, when someone shares their thoughts with you and their dreams and their hurts and their pains, don't think about what you're going to say next. Listen, because that's a gift. So everything that my mother taught me to do was out of love. And if people can have that, follow the golden rule and treat people how they want to be treated, the world will be a better place. But let me tell you how deep it is. When you talk about, if everybody could just love, they don't love themselves. How can they love me, Cherene?
There we
Well,
go.
when you sit, I'm 47 years old. I ever since I've been watching television, all I see is people that do not look like me. When I see beauty is blonde and blue eyes with straight hair,
Yeah.
right? When I see any television show besides Good Times that was made way before I was born, and Martin, things of that nature, those 4 shows out of all the other 100,
Mm-hmm.
when you see that, you start asking yourself as a young woman and as a young man, well, something must not be right with me. Because I don't see
Mm.
myself on that television. I don't see myself
Mm.
on that commercial. I don't see
Mm.
myself on in the malls with the MAC makeup, the anything. I do not see myself unless it has something to do specifically with black, like Black History Month or something like that.
Mm.
So we've been taught by our oppressors, right? Our oppressors hate us. And guess what they did? They taught us to hate ourselves, and we release that hate and even rage, because most of us are angry about the
Mm.
situation, upon each other,
Ain't that the
until
truth?
it's a whole reprogramming that needs to be done. In regards
Man,
to the
ain't that the
system, it
truth?
doesn't need to be fixed. It needs to be shut down, like the whole system in regards to the courts and the laws and all that. It
Mm-hmm.
doesn't need to be fixed. Like, we're trying to fix something. It doesn't need to be fixed. It needs to be broke down and rebuilt from the bottom up. What's the likelihood of that? So we talked. The 3 things you asked me about was that young girl and the gun. To
Mm-hmm.
me, I don't. It's hard for me to even comment on that because it makes just absolutely no sense.
And I
In
feel you,
regards
but
to
that's
in regards to unity and us showing love, we can't show each other love. And I don't want to say can't. That's another word my mom didn't want me to use, because there's some of us that can. But
yeah.
for the majority of Black people are not going to be able to treat each other with love because they don't love themselves. They
Mm-hmm.
have the same hate that our oppressor has. They have a feeling about themselves.
Yes.
And so
Yes.
they release that hate up on you. That was almost a hate move when he went in. That wasn't love. To put a
Mm-hmm.
gun next to your 3-year-old daughter.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't
Another
value his life.
another thing I was just thinking while you was talking, Shereen. I know a lot of young people with kids, or
Mm-hmm.
when they're around kids, they treat kids like adults. They don't know how to create the separation between, I'm an adult, I'm gonna conduct myself this way, you're a child. As you was talking, you know what could have happened? He
What?
could have damn near gave her the gun. He could have
I
put the gun there
know.
to say, "You want to play with the gun, baby?
Look
Oh,
at
look at little
me.
mama playing with the gun," not realizing what's about to happen. So think about the
Yeah.
level of, because I've seen adults in their 20s and 30s treat their black kids like their friend. And the cold part is other cultures may be able to get away with that. See white kids in the grocery store, they running around, they reckless. Well, one of the reasons their parents allow them to do it is because why can't they run around? It's our country. Who gonna stop them? Who gonna do what?
I
We
have the right.
understand I have a right. We be like, no, 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 come here. Our parents, our mothers, many people not realize may not realize this, but our mothers treat us a particular way based on slavery. When slavery days, because they didn't want their son to get taken and be a slave, they would say all kind of shit. No, no, master, you don't want him. He dumb. He's shiftless. No, no, they wanted to keep their sons as close as possible. You know what I mean?
Speak when we're spoken to, and that's something
See,
that we take pride in. Our children, when I was raised, my mother raised me. Children are supposed to be speak. They're only supposed to speak when they're spoken to. You know what I'm saying? That goes way back to say slavery, because they
think
knew they
about
didn't want
that.
their kids to speak because their kids would get beat.
Exactly. Or they didn't want them to speak to show they can speak, to show that they learning.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? They'd be
Exactly.
like, oh, your ass been reading a book, little nigga. Come on. You see what I'm saying?
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
we got so much our DNA is embedded with unhealthy practices that some of us don't even know. That shit's like working on autopilot. That's a great point that you make, because we beating our kids, how we beat our kids. Even though I was hit when I was a kid, there has been times where I've had to discipline my sons. But in
Right.
general, pulling a belt out to whoop a person, that ain't no African shit.
Well, let me tell you something. I was watching a show with Iyanla, or I can't
Hmm.
remember exactly who, and the man was trying to make it seem normal. He was trying to normalize the fact that, no, I was watching The Therapist. You ever watch that show on
No,
Vice?
no. Uh-uh.
Okay. Anyway, you have to watch it. He interviews stars, and they talked to him for about an hour. He was interviewing Joe Button. Joe Button. You don't know
Mm-hmm.
who he is?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay. Well,
yeah.
he was talking. He has issues with his mother. Well, his
Huh.
mother used to beat him. His mother used to have him strip down, take off all your clothes, and she would whoop him. And he was like, "But that's normal. That's what she had to do. That I got in trouble." And she said,
Oh.
if you were a grown man right now, would you want your right now? Would you want somebody to pull down your? Would you be humiliated if someone had you stripped down, butt naked, and beat you? Would you feel good about that? Would you think you deserve that? Would you feel humiliated? And he said, now that you say it, I think about it this way. She said, that's not okay. You were not supposed to be stripped
Mm.
down as a kid and beat. That is a form of us being like slaves to
Mm-hmm. That's
our slave.
abuse.
Yeah. So I mean, you can't expect kids to be able to love themselves and feel worthy when you telling them take up all your clothes, and then after I whoop you, you're gonna go get in this bath because I'm making steam now.
Humiliating shit. That's
Yeah, I'm gonna make it
humiliating.
sting. The little it's gonna sting now. So I mean, it's really, 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 really deep, and it all boils down to the way we're acting, the way how we don't have self love, the way that we hate ourselves, and perpetuate that same hate onto our people, the same way that we do this killing and don't value our own life. It all comes down to mental illness, from post traumatic slave syndrome, post traumatic stress syndrome,
Mm-hmm.
bipolar, multiple personality disorder, depression,
Mm-hmm.
anxiety.
Yes, definitely. Definitely. So I
So
think
mental
it's
illness
important.
is the key.
Yes, like you were saying, mental illness is the key, and we
We
need to
need
figure out a way to make that conversation more applicable in our community. Like, not be afraid of it, not be afraid to address. And again, like we were saying before, we was talking, all of us may need to go see somebody. Like,
we
regardless
do.
of your standing in society, how much money you got, what you've been able to accomplish. A lot of
Right.
us have been through so much trauma, but we're just bred to deal with it and
Right.
normalize it. And it's so many things we normalize that is toxic and really killing us from the inside out. Some of the diseases that we get, you know what I mean? It's all based on
Mhm.
stress. It's all based on the foods that we eat, based on slavery. It kind of all goes back to our inception of coming here. You know what I mean?
And it goes with being homeless, being the lowest on the totem pole. It goes with having to live check to check. It goes with being a
Yeah.
single mother. It goes with
Yeah.
being a single father. It goes with our children's dads being locked up in jail for their whole life. All
Mm-hmm.
these things that are going on cause stress, which then indeed cause hypertension and all this stuff. So the key to getting our mental health well will affect our physical health. They go hand in
Definitely.
hand. We can't just keep
Definitely.
worrying about, okay, well, now I got the Fitbit, I'm walking, I'm lifting weights, I look good, I done lost some stomach, some inches. Your physical may look good, but your mental's not good. And
Mm.
the mental can still kill you because you could
Mm.
just up and have a heart attack.
Mm-hmm. And you thought she was healthy. We didn't see that. People have a heart attack. You like, wait a minute, he worked out. He looked
Yeah,
good. His
yeah.
Come on now. You definitely right. Well, man, look, that is it for the news stories. I don't know. I hope that 3-year-old girl isn't dealing with too much trauma. She killed her father. We got to think about that, y'all. For a 3-year-old girl who don't really know what happened too much, she just know this thing went off and I killed my father. Think about how she gonna view guns for the rest of her life. Think about how she gonna view that situation for the rest of her. Now, I mean, it's important to note that homeboy was apologetic. Like after it happened, he wasn't standing on no bullshit. He was like, I'm sorry. And, it's a little too late, but he was apologetic. He wasn't a licensed gun owner. You know what I mean?
He
He
was.
wasn't a licensed gun. No, he wasn't the licensed gun owner.
Wow.
You know what I mean? So all that needs to be taken into account. I pray for the little girl, but we got to do better as a people. We gotta begin to not just love each other, but look after one another and be in a mindset that's based on business and progression. Because if your mindset is based on business and progression, you're not walking around with a gun like that. I'm
We
not
got to
saying you
come up with.
shouldn't.
We got to come up with the code. You heard of Ice Cube's
Code of
code?
conduct. Yeah.
Did you heard Ice Cube's demands, right?
Yeah. Of course.
Okay,
Yes.
so he's demanding what for Black America people to do this for Black America, right?
Yes.
We
Yes.
can't. We unfortunately, I used to think I could save the world. We can't save the world, right? So we start in our communities.
Yep.
We can come up with a code of conduct, and how you were saying, how we treat each other, how we respect each
Yes.
other, how we look out for each
Yep.
other.
Yep.
Terms are important. Just
Mm-hmm.
everything that we do as a people has to be changed. It has to be like a whole 180. Or if we don't,
Definitely.
if we don't, we're going to continue to see the same thing over and over again.
Definitely, definitely. All right, so we're done with the news stories. All right, done with the news stories. Now it's time for the topic. So, for the topic for today, y'all, I think being a father of five myself, being a man who had children and then decided to have another child,
Mm-hmm.
I think it's extremely important in our community to reevaluate our willingness, our capability when it comes to being parents. This is what I mean. And I'll give you two scenarios. If you're a brother who is with your woman, you guys are solid. You guys have your own place. You guys are doing things together. You
Mm-hmm.
guys both work. You're just trying to be good citizens and move forward in society. You have a baby. To me, that's more of the setup to have a child. Now, you guys have one child, 4 or 5 years go by, 2, 3 years, you talk about it. Okay, it's time to have another one. Here is a scenario, in my opinion. This is
Mm-hmm.
the ideal scenario to create a family in. However, even in that scenario, you still want to maybe like, okay, how's our money? Maybe this one kid took us to the brink of our finances. And if we have another one, we can't go on vacations.
Right.
We can't get them braces if they need to.
Right.
See, so you
We
so you
can't
got to
get the
look at
mental
these.
health if they need it.
See, so sometimes we have a kid and we like, all right, this was a lot for me based on whatever. Sometimes the worst thing you can do
It's
is
have
go
one.
out and recreate that and have another one. Now, another scenario that's even worse, where you a young man like I was, who out here just having sex, and you end up getting a girl pregnant, you struggling to provide possibly, you struggling to be there mentally, you
Right.
struggling with the fact that you're a young dude who really haven't figured out life yet. So you're still trying
Yeah.
to figure you out, let alone figure out how to be there for this kid. One of the worst things you can do is go to another situation and say, okay, I'm gonna recreate this whole thing. I'm gonna have
Part of the
another
code.
baby with this. Now you're creating a extremely toxic environment where, in my opinion, you're not taking into consideration the other people involved. I've seen situations, me included, where you have a new baby
Mm-hmm.
and the current kids will think or they will say, well, damn, I don't be getting too much of nothing now already.
Yeah.
So now with this new baby, they can get to resenting this new child because it's like, okay, my life ain't really been that good, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And now we got this new baby that y'all Googling and gagaing with. Y'all paying all this attention to this new baby. I got homework. I need help. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Sometimes we have the idea, I'm going to create this family. I'm going to have 3, 4, 5, 6 kids. Maybe, but you need to slow down and be
Yeah.
practical about your personal situation and determine what do you want to do for your kids? What kind of life do you want your family to have? And if you want them to have things and have options and have resources,
Right.
you gotta try to time your damn kid. You gotta time. Okay, should I have a kid now? Should I wait? Should we not? You know what I mean? How you feel about that, Cherene?
Are you talking about as a man's perspective?
That could be a man or woman's perspective. Just an adult with 1 or 2 kids, how they move forward with deciding to have another one.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I just think, going back to creating some type of code in the Black community,
Mm,
childbearing responsibly. That's something
mm,
that it would have a lot of bullet points down there, but
mm-hmm,
childbearing responsibly. So we can look at all those facts and aspects and different things that you brought up. And
mm-hmm.
people can say, okay, let me open the book up to this. Childbearing responsibly. Let me see if I'm hitting on this point. Why am I doing this? Now, for me, I am a woman, so I can't tell you exactly how men think. I can tell you what I believe a lot of men
Go
do.
ahead.
They try a lot of men basically want to replace their inadequacies with their children. So I
Mm,
feel like as a man, a lot of men feel like they need to have a whole bunch of kids, not because they just want a whole bunch of kids, because that's the one thing I guess that they can do, and that will make
mm.
them feel like they're somebody. And
That's deep.
I got 5 boys and 3 girls. All
That's
my boys
deep.
play sports. One of my boys, so then they want to live through their kids. So they want to have
Ah,
all these kids so that unfortunately they could be the basketball player that they didn't that they were not. They could be the rapper
mm.
that they were not. They could be the actor that they were not. They could be the scientist that they were not. But we know in our community a whole bunch of Black folk and men want to be what? Because it was instilled in them that that's all they can be, rappers and athletes. So
Athletes.
I
Yep.
feel like it's a void. I feel like a lot of men are just going out having babies are trying to fill a void. Same thing for my
Mm.
women. But I'm speaking about the men and how I feel about some men that just going out there knowing good and well they can get somebody pregnant, knowing that
Mm-hmm.
they're not even in love with the woman, don't want to spend the rest of their
Mm-hmm.
life with the woman.
Yeah.
She gonna have my baby. She gonna have my baby. I met people when I was young. They're like, I'm gonna have a baby by you. They didn't say nothing about I'm gonna marry you, spend the rest of the life. You're gonna have my baby. So they may
That's
see like this.
man.
They may see like this girl that they think is so beautiful, and you're gonna have my baby. Why? So again, it just comes down to kind of like common sense, thinking things through, like you said. But I do think that a lot of men and women have kids and don't care about who they have it with to fill a void. Some people,
That is
especially
man.
women, some women I hear talk about a lot that they didn't have love and they just want somebody. They never had love, and so they want somebody who's
Damn.
going to love them unconditionally, because your kids, they love your dirty draws.
That's deep, man.
Your kids will
That's
love you
deep right there.
forever unless you are like the devil. Your kids
Yeah.
will love you forever and they still will forgive you. No matter what you do to them,
That's
most
deep.
kids will always forgive you because they love you unconditionally. All they want is your acceptance and your love. That's the only type of love that you can get, is that from a kid. So if you're missing
Mm,
love within yourself, that's the
man.
reason why these people are having all these kids. That's a part
Ain't
of it.
that something? Ain't that
Part of
something? Because it's funny you say that. I'm happy you went there, man, because I remember being a young father and speaking of like the women that I had children with, I remember it was a common thread with both of them. Neither one of them had their father around.
it.
And how can I put it? Um, and as a young person, I didn't know what this was, but now that I'm older, hindsight's 2020, when their father would come around, or let's say he would come into town, or he was available to see them and spend time with them, they treated me differently then. Like I
Mm,
was second fiddle. Like they
yeah.
didn't have time to deal with my nonsense because
Yeah.
this man, and I didn't know what that was. But now that I get older, I'm like, they just needed the presence of a father. And like you said, having the baby wasn't much on wanting to be with me as much as it probably was. I want something to love me. You know what I mean? I'm missing
Yes.
love in a particular area. I want something to love me. So that brings up a whole nother conversation of, again, everything kind of goes back to how we start our families and how we treat each other and the system that we're raised in. Because
Yeah.
if we start creating environments where these kids are being raised in their home, mom and dad, they ain't got to be perfect, but they love each other. If they,
Yeah.
if you getting certain shit at home, you're not finna go outside to look for it.
Exactly.
Period. You know what I
Exactly.
mean? And I think we also need to get to a point though where, let's say I'm a man, I have a baby in this particular situation, and I realize that it's not healthy. Meaning, me and the woman always argue. Uh, I ain't got my shit together in a certain way, but I have to be cognizant of this, and then tell myself, okay, I did this and had this baby, and I love my baby girl, my baby boy. But if I have another one, I'm gonna be causing strife not just on myself, but on her too. If I have another one, I'm gonna be putting everybody in a disadvantaged position. But that's like a higher level of thought. You know what I mean?
Higher level.
That
We,
all of
we
our men though, because again, when I'm looking at these young dudes killing each other, when I'm looking at these young dudes, like I said on my show a few weeks ago, these young dudes, 16, 17, 18, killing each other, I beg to ask, how many of them came from two-parent homes? How many of them have a father that they know love them? Like, let's say he ain't even in the house, but know love them. You know
I
what I mean?
mean, we could Google that right now and just and talk about the absence of black men in homes. I bet you none of
Yeah,
them. None of them.
yeah.
None
See?
of them.
So of course we know that the system participated in creating that structure,
Right.
but we have a say so.
Right.
We
Right.
have a say so. We can say, okay, this is the maze that was created for me. I'm
Mm-hmm.
gonna go this way because I know that's what they want me to do. You see what I'm saying? So we
Right.
so we got to get to a point where because people be telling me, you need to stop
Yeah.
blaming the white man. You need to stop blaming. I'm like, nah, let's if an issue arises, we need to hold everybody accountable that's
Right.
involved in the issue.
Right.
And if
Right.
you black in America, Jim Crow, segregation, redlining, all of this shit still affects us to this day.
See, we're not blaming their ancestors. The reason why a lot of black people blame white folk today is because they allow the fuckery to continue to go on.
Yeah.
You're putting money into everything, into the big pot that is white supremacy. So we're
Mm-hmm.
not talking about you. Why are you guys mad at me? And that I didn't do anything to you because your parents, your aunts and uncles, and you are playing into white supremacy. Still, are you standing up and saying no? This is ridiculous. This is not gonna happen.
Mm-hmm.
Is anybody at the top, the one percenters? Are they going to the White House? Are they outside with the sign saying Trump? This shit's ridiculous. We
Mm-hmm.
need to we need to knock down the criminal system and rebuild
Mm-hmm.
it. So that's why we're mad at you because you're
Yep.
still planning to it and you're comfortable with it.
Mm-hmm.
So
And
all that when you hear somebody saying, "Well, my ancestors did that. My ancestors did this." No, baby, your people are still doing it right now. You guys
yeah.
aren't making no change. You're not making no noise,
Yep.
and you will
And
not have it. You will not
yep.
have it any other way. You will.
That's
You
true.
want them to give us this little bit. You pretend, yeah, this isn't fair, but you would not have it any other way. Once we do, because I'm gonna have some hope right now. Once we do get everything we need, equity and all that stuff, see what's gonna happen. It's gonna be a
Yeah.
race war.
You know what I
A
mean?
race war.
Because yeah, yeah, yeah. I definitely agree with that. And some white folks don't realize like your silence, you're actually saying something. Being
Yeah.
quiet is actually an action. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You actually saying something. Most white people, and this is a white guy I was talking to a while ago, and man, I had to realize that for some of them, because they don't have the issues that we have,
Right.
it's certain shit they don't even think about. They don't
Yeah.
even think about problems with the police. They don't even think
Right.
about a family member that's in jail or somebody living on the other side of the law. When they have a family member that's in jail or that's a thug, or they ostracize his ass. You ain't coming around
Right.
here. He ain't coming to the barbecue. They kick him out the family damn near if you do some shit they
Right.
don't like. You know what I mean?
They can't.
We
They
be
can't even understand. They can't even understand being in line, knowing and walking into a place and no one not speaking to you. They can't understand that you've been standing somewhere. White man walk in and they say, "Can I help you, sir?" That's happened to me so many times.
Yep.
You see what I'm saying? So they don't even
Yep.
understand. They don't understand going into even the Chinese stores trying to get something done or here and there, and they see a white person come in. May I help you? May I help you? They
Look
don't
right over your
understand.
ass.
They don't understand nothing. And as much as they try and as much as they want to help, okay, maybe you're awakening some other white folk, but I don't think that you don't understand what we go through, and I still don't think that you standing up with a sign is gonna make any big difference. I just don't. I
Yep.
just don't. The change is gonna have to come from the top people, and if
Yes.
our country has been built a certain way for 100, let's just talk about 100 years. Jim Crow after that in 1960. You know, over like
Mm-hmm.
1,000 people were lynched from 1900 to 1960. This is
Damn.
1960. I'm born in
Damn.
73. In 60, they were still lynching folks. So I
Damn.
mean, how can they understand?
Mm-hmm.
So those
Yep.
type of questions, like I'm a why person. I always used to ask my mom a lot of questions because my dad died when I couldn't ask him a lot. I was only 10. So
Mm-hmm.
he was gone. Mama, why? Mama, why? Mama, why? And she tried to answer me. She tried to answer me. When I started getting older, she just told me straight up, white supremacy. We're considered inferior. We don't get the homes. We don't get the loans. We don't get nothing, really. We got to fight for everything that we get. And we still ain't going to get the
Definitely.
best of it.
See, and
So,
that's why, yep, and I think that's why it's important when we look at one of the most revolutionary things we can do is start our families the right way.
there
Is
you
try
go.
our best to look at um, family building and
Mhm.
sexual, like I tell men, sexual intercourse. You're giving this woman your seed. Be sure you into the woman. Like take your time. So many young
Yes.
people I'm still saying, so many young people I'm still seeing having kids in a position where they're not even adults yet mentally. They're 18, 19, 20 years old. In my humble opinion, no 18-year-old in America should have a child. Now,
Find out the
I'm not,
background.
you know what I
Find out
mean?
the find out the person's background. We don't do
Yeah,
that. We don't do
that's
that.
true. Yeah,
I didn't do it. Find out the
yeah,
person's background, their mother. Is there any mental illness in the home? Look
right.
them up. Research people. Look them up for free.
You know what I mean? Like back in the day, they used to research her. They used to be like, what kind of family they come from. That's why that shit kind of
Yeah.
make a little bit of sense. When it was like, no, we don't match families with families. You be like, no, you can't rock with her. They ain't got nothing.
Right. You see?
They gonna get with us and try to take all our shit. So you gotta find
Exactly.
somebody that's more compatible. That's a real
Right.
thing. You know
That's
what I mean?
right. We're not doing that nowadays. Our men is looking at the fake booties, and our
Yep.
women are our men our women our young women are looking for money.
Yep. Yep. So
So
with that
they don't give a
combination,
damn. The man could be a woman abuser. You can have 5 different girls on the side. They don't care. They can get the shit beat out of them, and they'll
yep,
come back. Why? Because he gonna buy him what's that bag everybody talking about, that
the
Birkin,
Birkin bag. Yeah.
and they gonna buy it. He gonna buy her a little 5, 6, 7 year old Mercedes that looks like a
hmm
2020.
hmm
Whatever it is that she's getting, again, to build up that self worth that she didn't get when she was younger. She deals with that, has his child, and what he do? Damn near kill her and the baby
Yeah.
if he don't do it. So
Yeah.
we have to start researching who we are with, getting to know them, not just them, but their families.
Yep. Taking the time. Taking the time to get to know them. Date. Like that sounds cliche, but damn, date somebody for a couple years. Like travel with them. Do a whole bunch of shit before you decide to have a family. I've known people be like, man, I love this girl. We gonna settle down. This is just the best time I ever had in my life. I can't wait to keep being with her. I'm like, damn, dog, how long y'all been together? 9 months. I'm like,
Some say
you
three
just
months.
started.
Some be
You
like
just
3 months.
started. Yeah, why we in a rush for that final destination? We in a rush to get married. If we really trying to build something solid, if we gonna be with somebody for a while, take your time. what's supposed to happen for you is going to happen for you. You can't rush it. And being black, we have to factor in, if I have a baby when I'm 18 or 19, there's a system set up that's going to be coming for my baby. My baby, if I ain't got the money to put him in private school, or I ain't got the
Right.
knowledge to teach him stuff, he has to go to a public school where
Right.
90% of the teachers are white.
Right.
90% of the teachers are middle-aged white women, so she don't
Yeah.
understand your son, so she gonna be
Facts.
treating him a particular way.
You're
The
not talking.
police
You
is
speaking
already
facts. You
the
speaking
police is
facts.
already driving around the school. He waiting to arrest your son for some little faulty shit. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So we literally have a system that we have to fight against, along with just trying to be regular people like everybody else. You know what I mean? So I
So
think black parents need to have these conversations with it. That's why I'm such a big proponent of history. To me, if you dig into history the right way, everything you're looking at will make sense to you. Like the brother Claude Anderson say, if you don't understand white supremacy, everything gonna confuse you. You ain't gonna know
right.
what you're looking at. You ain't gonna know whether you're coming or going, who like me, who don't like me. You know what I mean?
That makes
That's
sense.
all. That's all
Yeah.
based on you not having a crystal clear understanding of the system that we're in. Then you can know your place. Then you can begin to study and say, "Damn, we actually the shit." You know
Right.
what I mean? Then you
Right.
can get pride in who you are and pride in your people. So it is a process, but we have to start. That's why my show is so important to me, because sometimes I think I'm being redundant in saying things that people know already, but people hit me like, man, I ain't know that. I ain't know that. And these are people my age.
Well,
So
let
I'm
me
like,
tell you something.
damn.
Let me tell you something. You even if they don't say that they don't know, even if they say they did know that, you got to keep using it. One of the most smartest men, even though he was like the devil, created that propaganda. You got to keep putting it out there. That's why I say every single time, give thanks, greetings, give thanks. That's today's yet another miracle. So people can start really saying, today is a miracle. Let me get up and go do something. I'm gonna keep saying it. Rise up and
Mm-hmm.
wise up. Same thing over and over again. Certain things you hear me. Remember, I talk a lot about systemic racism. I do
Mm-hmm.
that. I told you, right? To keep it going, keep it going, keep it going. So
Keeping
there's
it in
gonna be some
mind.
there's gonna be some topics that you do need to keep going over.
That's
You should
true.
write it down in your calendar. Okay, next month I'm talking about that. Next month I'm gonna talk about that again. Next, because you really think they're gonna
Ain't that
remember
real?
from one
Ain't that
show?
real?
It go
Yep.
they hear it and they like yeah, and then it's over with because they got too much stress in their life. So you got to
Yeah.
keep doing it. You got to use propaganda to help our people.
In a positive way.
There
Damn
you
right.
go. There you
Ain't
go.
that the truth? Ain't that the truth? Well, this has been a great episode, another episode of the Melanated Convo podcast. I appreciate my sister for stepping in with me. We're gonna have to do this again because we
Yep.
definitely was flowing with each other and the topics was just coming. So I appreciate that. Everybody, please do me a favor and subscribe to my YouTube channel, Melanated Fathers TV on YouTube. If you follow me, go to the website, melanatedfathers.com. On my website, you can find a lot of news stories that I talk about here. You can find a History Matters section where I talk about different people, places, and things from our history. We have a book of the month on the website. We have articles about
Awesome.
parenting on the website. So if you're a
Oh,
black person, you go to the website, you're going to get a dose of everything you need to get your mental state where it need to be. You feel me?
and they have the woman's perspective on the website. I get all of
Yep.
his emails. Let me tell you, there's a lot of stuff that goes on when I don't have time, when I'm trying to build myself up. Sometimes I'm not paying attention to the news. I get it from you because I get it from your emails that I signed up for.
Yep.
And
Appreciate
so
that.
it's definitely he has a wonderful platform. So make sure you subscribe to that. And hopefully somewhere in notes or something you could just put my Facebook information on there.
I
I
will.
have
No, at
I
the
have
bottom of the video, I
Instagram
definitely will.
too. I'll email it to you.
Okay, okay. Now, any parting words? If they wanted to get in touch with you, if they want to follow your movement, how would you recommend them let them do that?
Well, right now you can hit me up on Facebook, Instagram, and my email.
Got
But
it.
because
Got it. Okay.
I don't like spelling my name because a lot of the letters in my name sound the same. So
Yeah,
if you go Chere. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna find where he's posting this at, and then I'll make sure that information is in the notes or comments for you guys.
definitely, definitely. Well,
Okay,
I want to thank everybody. No, go ahead, Cherene.
but definitely be looking out for Cherene's Truths, the book. The title may change, and also that's just going to be different truths that when I talk about self-love, self-respect, I talk about systemic racism, hate, the fact that we hate each other and hate ourselves. I'm going to be talking a lot about mental health coming up. I have a lot of different things coming up that will be taking place music wise, because music, what people don't know is that performing arts and mental health go together, and
Hmm.
they help. So I'm a
Okay.
big big advocate of performing arts as well.
There
So
we
be
go.
looking out for that. I'm gonna have, like, we're gonna talk about mental illness, but also have shows and people performing and things of that nature. So be looking out. Follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and you can catch me and see what I'm doing and what's going on.
Definitely. Thank you. Thank you very much, Cherene. So, all right, everybody. Thank you very much for tuning into another episode. Everybody who takes time out of their day to send me emails, to comment, even when people don't like the stuff that I'm talking about and they comment on YouTube, I appreciate all of it. These are conversations that we need to continue to have. There's so much information going around on Facebook, on Instagram, on social media about our people. Sometimes it's negative narratives. People be online having fun and enjoying themselves, and I get all that. But please balance out your brain with healthy content and critical thinking. Critical thinking is extremely important for
Yes.
all of us. Wherever
Yes.
you are in your life, you need to begin thinking not just about your family, but as a community as a whole. So, like
Yeah.
Cherene said, we can remain to be on code so we can see some of this shit change. Racism ain't going
Yeah.
nowhere. It's all about what we're going to do about it, y'all. So, again,
Exactly.
I thank
Exactly.
everybody for tuning into the show. This has been another episode of the Melanated Convo podcast. We out.
Peace.